Hello students, welcome to a new lecture. In this class we will be discussing about p block elements only. In continuation with the previous lecture, we were discussing about the compounds of nitrogen, in which dinitrogen was covered. Now the next compound of nitrogen is ammonia. For this compound also we should study how ammonia is prepared and what are the properties of ammonia. What is this? Formula of ammonia is NH3. First let us look at the preparation of ammonia and after that properties of ammonia. How can you prepare ammonia? Is by doing on a large scale you can prepare ammonia by Haber's process, in which what will you do? You will combine directly dinitrogen with hydrogen. If you combine dinitrogen with dihydrogen, the reaction, which is a reversible reaction, will give you ammonia, in which dinitrogen is a gas, hydrogen is also a gas, and ammonia is also a gas. The symbol which I have taken is a reversible reaction. That means whatever conditions you give, in that side the reaction will proceed. If I give more pressure, the reaction goes forward. If I give less pressure, the reaction goes backward. If I give catalyst, the reaction proceeds further. If I don't give catalyst, the reaction comes back, right? So the reaction is reversible, and as we have already seen that dinitrogen is a very strong molecule in which 3 bonds are present. So breaking that 3 bonds is difficult. So for that you need high bond enthalpy. Bond enthalpy is very high. That means temperature should be high, and this reaction is exothermic reaction. That means heat energy is liberated. Heat energy is liberated, right? So how to balance this? You have 2 nitrogens, minimum 2 should be here. There is only 1. To make it 2, what you have to do? Hydrogens are 2 3s are 6, but here there is only 2. So you write it 3. Now is it balanced? Right. Now what is the condition for this reaction? The conditions are 1, 2 and 3. If you maintain these 3 conditions properly, you can easily prepare ammonia at industrial level in large quantities, right? And the first condition is high pressure. For this reaction, the pressure should be high, so much so that it should be around 200 atmosphere. If you don't give 200 atmosphere, any problem? Yes, the problem is if the pressure is not high enough. If suppose if I take a spring, if I don't apply high pressure, will it get reduced? No. Will it give a different shape of spring? No. Therefore, to get a different shape of spring, you have to apply more pressure. Same way, if you apply more pressure, then only both of them react to give you this product, because volume is getting decreased, therefore pressure has to increase, and that is according to Le Chatelier's principle. How volume is decreasing? 1 molecule plus 3 molecule, total 4 moles on the reactant side and only 2 moles on the product side. That means volume is decreasing. When can you decrease the volume? If you apply more pressure, only volume can decrease. If you don't apply more pressure, what happens? The reaction can come backward, right? So if you want forward reaction, if you want this product, you should apply very high pressure, right? If you don't apply, the reaction is reversible. Easily it will get back to this, right? So for this method or for this process, pressure has to be high at 200 atmosphere. What next? Temperature should also be high. High means not extremely high, it is moderately high at around 725 to 775 Kelvin. Pressure should be moderately high between this range. What next? For this reaction, the catalyst should be iron. Iron should be the catalyst and molybdenum should be the promoter to increase the activity of iron. Iron is the catalyst and molybdenum is the promoter for activity of iron, right? This is called as Haber's process, in which you have to write completely, first explain the reaction, which type of reaction is it, and what are the conditions for you to get ammonia as the product. This is Haber's process. Now preparation of ammonia is over. Now we will look at its properties. Now let us look at the chemical properties of ammonia with different compounds. How ammonia react with zinc sulfate aqueous solution, copper sulfate aqueous solution, ammonium chloride precipitate which is in the form of solid, and phosphorus allotrope, right? Coming to the first, if you react aqueous zinc sulfate with ammonia, you cannot take directly ammonia, because I already told you ammonia is a gas, right? Ammonia is a gas. How about zinc sulfate? That is an aqueous solution. How can you react both? So to make the reaction easy, what you have to do is always, depending on the reaction conditions, you should take not directly ammonia but aqueous ammonia. What does it mean by aqueous ammonia? Ammonia plus water is called as aqueous ammonia. So always will you write ammonia plus water? You cannot write like that every time. So aqueous ammonia is in this form, NH4OH, because water has H plus, OH minus, right? This H plus goes here, so it becomes NH4 plus and OH remains. So ammonium hydroxide is nothing but aqueous ammonia. You can call it as ammonium hydroxide, or you can simply call it as aqueous ammonia, right? So as this is aqueous, so you cannot take ammonia as a gas. What you should take? Aqueous ammonia you should take. What is the formula of aqueous ammonia? NH4OH is the formula of aqueous ammonia, right? So the property of aqueous ammonia here is it will replace the metal from its salt. What is the salt of the metal? Zinc sulfate is the salt, in which zinc is the metal. What will ammonia do? It will replace zinc from its salt. Who comes here? Ammonium ion comes here, right? Zn plus 2, SO4 minus 2 was present, from which what happens? Ammonia will be coming and taking the place of zinc. So NH4 plus taken 2 times sulfate, right? This is ammonium sulfate. What happened? Zinc got replaced with ammonium ion. Now what is left? Zinc hydroxide. How can you differentiate zinc sulfate and zinc hydroxide? Zinc sulfate is a soluble solution or aqueous solution, whereas zinc hydroxide is a precipitate. If you take zinc sulfate as a solution, do the reaction with aqueous ammonia, you will get a precipitate, which indicates that the reaction have taken place and ammonium ion has replaced the zinc from its salt to give you zinc hydroxide, which is in the form of a precipitate. That is first reaction. The next reaction of aqueous ammonia is with copper sulfate. Aqueous ammonia always means this only, right? If it reacts with copper sulfate, aqueous copper sulfate, the solution of aqueous copper sulfate is normal light blue color solution, right? Copper sulfate solution is blue in color. To that if you add aqueous ammonia, or just ammonia, how many times? 4 times. Ammonia forms a complex with copper, which is nothing but copper tetraamine complex. What is the color of this solution? Blue color. What will be the color of this compound? It is a coordination compound, right? So the color is deep blue color. Can you differentiate normal blue color with deep blue color? Yes. If you can see that the color is changing from normal blue or light blue into deep blue, that means ammonia reacted with copper sulfate to give you a complex of copper and ammonia, which is nothing but copper amine complex, right? That is one more reaction of ammonia. The next reaction is reaction with AgCl. How will you get AgCl? Whenever Ag plus reacts with Cl minus, you got AgCl in the form of a precipitate. What precipitate is AgCl? AgCl is a white precipitate, right? To that white precipitate, if you add ammonia and here metal is present and its complex is formed, that means you cannot take aqueous ammonia, you should take just normal ammonia only. How many? 4 ammonias with copper. Same way with silver also you should take just NH3, not NH4OH, right? So this AgCl precipitate, which is white in color, it is settling down. If you add ammonia as a gas, what happens is you will get a complex of silver amine. You will get a silver amine complex. What is the color of silver amine complex? It is colorless. Can you differentiate both? White precipitate means ammonia did not react with silver. Colorless solution means ammonia reacts with silver. These are different reactions in which ammonia is reacting to give a different color or different shape or what have you, right? It can be easily observed between white precipitate and colorless solution. The next property is phosphorus. Phosphorus reacts with nitric acid. That element is obtained from ammonia only. Nitric acid reacts with phosphorus to give you phosphoric acid. To give you which acid? Phosphoric acid or phosphorus acid. Nitric acid we are taking. So you will get phosphoric acid, which is H3PO3, right? These are some of the properties of ammonia. What next is, we will move on to the next compound of nitrogen, which means oxides of nitrogen. But before going to oxides of nitrogen, in the very beginning, after looking at the properties of all the elements, we have to discuss the anomalous nature of nitrogen, which we have missed, and then we will try to cover it now, right? In this fifth group, which element comes? Nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth, in which they should have what? Nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth. If they are coming under one group, that means their properties also should be similar, their reactivity should be similar, they should have similar nature, right? But nitrogen, which is present at the top, don't have similar nature like others do. What does that mean? The other 4 elements have some similar nature, nitrogen has a different nature. That different nature is called as anomalous nature of nitrogen. And under anomalous nature of nitrogen, the first anomalous nature of nitrogen is its exceptionally small size, and the size of other elements are not that much small. Why? The size of nitrogen has to be small, but it's smaller than expected. That is first expected. That is first abnormal property. Smaller size than. So the size of nitrogen is very small and the other elements have larger size compared to nitrogen. What is the next property of this group, or what is the next abnormal property of nitrogen is, if you make a molecule of nitrogen, you get dinitrogen. Same way for phosphorus, you get P4 allotrope. Same way for others also might be there, right? What is the difference between N2 and P4? The molecule of nitrogen is a gas which is called as dinitrogen. The molecule of nitrogen is a gas which is diatomic molecule, whereas other elements form diatomic molecule only or polyatomic molecules? It form polyatomic molecules. Only nitrogen is that element in their group who makes a diatomic molecules. Other elements cannot make a diatomic molecule. The next abnormal feature or next abnormal nature of the nitrogen is in nitrogen the empty d orbitals are not present. In nitrogen empty d orbitals are absent, but all other element has empty d orbitals. Will they be involved in bonding? Yes. For nitrogen it's not there, that means it is not involved in bonding. Which type of bonding is seen then? If there is no d block elements, nitrogen always shows p pi type of bonding, whereas other element easily shows d pi p pi bonding. Right, p pi, always nitrogen forms p pi bonding. If you take nitrogen molecule itself, 3 bonds are there. First bond is sigma bond, next is pi bond, another is pi bond. Pi bond using p orbital, pi by using p orbital. That means always bonding between nitrogen of a molecule is p pi bonding, whereas bonding between other elements is not a p pi bonding, it is a d pi bonding, right? That is another feature. Next, the nature of dinitrogen molecule is very much inert because it is highly reactive and very difficult to break. Other molecules are not that much inert in nature, right? Now we will look at the next topic, which is oxides of nitrogen. So now we will look at oxides of nitrogen, which means how nitrogen can combine with oxygen to form oxides. What was the general type of oxides for all the elements of that group? We have seen that all the elements of that group can form M2O5 type of oxides or M2O3 type of oxides, right? Nitrogen can form those two type of oxides as well as some other oxides also, right? So it forms different type of oxides. In addition to those two, some other oxides also it will form. So what we will do, we will study all the oxides of nitrogen under a single table, in which we will look at its name, its formula, oxidation state on that nitrogen and its structure. Starting from the first oxide is, what is the first oxide we can take? NO. What is the name of that? Nitrogen monoxide. Right? Now, what is the next oxide we can have? Nitrogen dioxide. Let us write its name also. Nitrogen dioxide. What else? Dinitrogen monoxide also you can have, right? What is the name? Dinitrogen monoxide, right? Now you can have dinitrogen trioxide of that formula. What is the name? Dinitrogen trioxide. What else can you have? Dinitrogen tetroxide. What will be the formula? N2O4. Its name tetroxide. 4 oxygen are there, means tetroxide. What is the next oxide? Common. N2O5. What is the name? Dinitrogen pentoxide. Right? Now we have seen different oxide, its formula and its name. One oxygen, one nitrogen means just nitrogen. One oxygen means monoxide. One nitrogen, just nitrogen. Dioxide. Two nitrogens, so dinitrogen. Oxide is how many? Only one, monoxide. 2 nitrogen, dinitrogen. 3 oxygen, trioxide. 2 nitrogen, dinitrogen. 4 oxygen, tetroxide. 2 nitrogen, dinitrogen. 5 oxygen, pentoxide. Now let us calculate the oxidation state of each nitrogen in its oxide. Always oxygen has -2 oxidation state. How many oxygens here? Only one. So if oxygen has -2, nitrogen has +2. So on nitrogen, what is the oxidation state? +2, right? Right. How many oxygens? 2 oxygen. -2 into 2 -4 you will get. So on nitrogen, how much will be the oxidation state? +4. So let us write +4 oxidation state here. On each oxygen -2, that means on nitrogen +1 +1. So on each nitrogen the oxidation state is +1, right? On each oxygen -2 into 3 is -6. On this side will be +6. Like that, how many nitrogen? +3 +3. So just write each nitrogen has +3 oxidation state. Same way, -2 into 4 is -8. Here +8, that means on each nitrogen +4 oxidation state. -2 into 5 is -10. Coming on this side, +5 together +10, right? So on nitrogen the oxidation state. We got oxidation state also. In the exam for 4 marks or 2 marks also, they can ask you write about the oxides of nitrogen. Just that's it. They won't ask you write about monoxide, dioxide. They will simply ask you write about oxide. You have to draw the complete table having 4 columns, right? Now let us come to the structure of this oxide. This is the linear structure. On oxygen 2 bonds, okay, right? On nitrogen there is only 2 bond, that means it should make 3 bond. One more electron is left. That is the structure of nitrogen monoxide. What next? Nitrogen dioxide means angular structure. Total how many bonds around nitrogen? Should be 2, that means only 1 minus charge is kept, right? Now, or you can also take it as this way, in which nitrogen gets plus charge. This is NO2. What next? Dinitrogen monoxide. Dinitrogen monoxide means how many nitrogens are there? This is dinitrogen. On which one oxygen is there? Oxygen has only 1 bond, minus charge should come. Nitrogen has 4 bond, plus charge should come. This is dinitrogen monoxide. What next? Dinitrogen trioxide is there. Trioxide. Here you write minus 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, that means plus charge. Minus will not be there. So let us take this only. So it is neutral. Right? Now going to the next, dinitrogen tetroxide. One, two, three, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So nitrogen has, this is nitrogen tetroxide. Next is nitrogen pentoxide. In between this oxygen, 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 oxygen here. O minus opposite, double bond O opposite. 1, 2, 3, 4 plus charge is like this. This is nitrogen pentoxide, right? This table is for oxides of nitrogen. Now in the next class we will go for compounds of phosphorus, in which oxoacids of phosphorus, phosphine, allotropes of phosphorus, all that we will see. Okay, thank you.